Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. Something that you may or may not know about me is that I am an eldest daughter. I'm not an eldest daughter to a large family. I have one sister and she is 4 years younger than me, but I am the firstborn. I am the eldest daughter. I am the child that surprised my parents, who did not really want children. But I came and blessed their lives anyway because I wanted to, as my mother always says. And something that, we all know and have heard of is that there is a lot of responsibility that comes along with being the eldest daughter. There is something that we all like to refer to as eldest daughter syndrome, and it is something that is shared by pretty universally amongst eldest daughters. Yesterday, Taylor Swift's new album came out and one of the songs on there is called Eldest Daughter, I believe, or it's about being an eldest daughter at the very least. And so it has brought a lot of conversation about eldest daughter syndrome onto my timeline, and it really sparked something in me and has made me really want to talk about it. And so because I want to talk about it, that means it is now all of your problem. I'm making it your problem as well. So you are welcome. So what I have done is I have gone through TikTok and I have found a bunch of eldest daughters talking about their experience being an eldest daughter and what that looks like for them, what it may look like for you. And we are just going to dive in and have some group sort of therapy, right? In the way of being validated by other people's trauma, getting mad about it, feeling just collectively coming together and being traumatized. And holding each other's hands, it's therapeutic. You get me. I think I have done a video about this once before, a couple years back. So if you have already heard me talk about this, you're gonna hear me talk about it again. I'm sorry, not really. And if you want to hear me talk about it double, you can go check out that video as well. I do also post about a bunch of other stuff as well. So if you want to hear me talk about other things amongst being an eldest daughter, other things that traumatize me, or parental trauma or gay shit, please do not forget to hit subscribe. I am here 2 or 3 times a week and I would love to see you again. I am trying to hit 500k subscribers by the end of the year, so I do really appreciate it. Over 50% of you are regular viewers but are not subscribed, so you might think you are, but you aren't. Maybe give it a check. I'll give you a second. Great. Thank you. All right, now with that said and done, let's get into it and have a look at some eldest daughters and what it means to be an eldest daughter. So to start off, I'm gonna show you a TikTok that is someone just kind of sitting down and explaining eldest daughter syndrome, just so we can all be on the same sort of page and tick boxes about what we relate to as eldest daughters.
Oldest daughter syndrome is when you were the firstborn daughter and you were conditioned to caretake or to please. Here are 4 signs you are this daughter. 1, you have to be a good girl. You have to be polite and repress how you actually feel to make sure everyone around you is comfortable. 2, you abandon your own needs. Your needs were never met or recognized, so you learn that they're not important and feel guilty and shameful for even having them. You might even feel like a burden and not know why. 3, you believe it's your responsibility to make sure that no one is ever upset or disappointed. This is called emotional monitoring. You never learn that adults are capable of disappointment, and it's not your role in life to manage the feelings of other adults. 4, you suppress your anger and rage. You suppress all of those emotions through food, scrolling on social media, drinking, or really anything else that helps you numb those uncomfortable feelings.
Okay, well, despite feeling called out by all of that, I feel especially called out by that last point. That one was mean. I've not really heard that one mentioned so many times, suppressing anger and frustration. Okay, don't call me out. Me sitting in therapy being I don't ever allow myself to experience anger. I could not tell you the last time I had ever outwardly expressed anger. Ever. The only place I ever express anger is here. It's with you. It's whilst I am looking at political stuff and people being homophobic and assholes. That is the only time I ever allow myself to get angry, which reminds me of when I did tell my therapist this. She was like, we're gonna do a practice task of you getting angry. I'm gonna be a misogynistic man and say all this misogynistic stuff and you're gonna get mad at me. I'm like, that's just my job. I can do that. I have an outlet for my anger. It's here. So, in my personal life though, none of that. None of that. Thank you. I don't know how to know. I'm just shoving it down. Just repressed emotions. Who cares? It's chill. It's fine. It's good. It's whatever.
I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I co-raise my siblings, but my parents don't recognize it. I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I'm type A perfectionist with a 5 a.m. morning routine. I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I got in trouble for anything my siblings did, because we're a unit, not an individual. I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I'm a chronic people pleaser. Count me in. I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I became a chauffeur to my siblings when I got my license. Who else was gonna drive them? I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I'm the mom in my friend group. Hey, are you okay? I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I carried Mother's Day on my back. Who else was giving mom the perfect gift? I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I'm the family therapist. Who else will they talk to? I'm the eldest daughter. Of course I'm an overachiever who doesn't feel like I'm doing enough.
It's so frustrating and so upsetting because, yeah, as demonstrated perfectly by this TikTok, the main characteristic of being an eldest daughter is that you effectively have to be a parent. This is especially true for larger families where, you know, you have been given responsibility to look after your siblings because, you know, you can do it. It's fine. I've got other things to do, so you can look after your siblings while I go do that other stuff. And that carries on with you into like adulthood. Like you have all of these expectations put upon you to be responsible, to like help look after your siblings who are like not that much younger than you are. And then when you get older and start having the ability to do things like drive them places and such, then that is a responsibility that is given to you. It's this thing of like, you aren't asked to do it, you are expected to do it. So if you don't do it, even though you weren't asked, you'll be told that they're disappointed in you. Because it's like, you should use your initiative. Why didn't you drive your brother to swim practice? He didn't ask, I didn't ask. Well, you should have just done it anyway because you love him. And that's what you do when you love people. And it's like this constant being told you need to like do things for people and you have this responsibility to look after people even though you yourself are a child and that is not your responsibility to do. As an elder sister who only has one sibling, I didn't get this to the degree that people with larger families do, but I very much can relate to having to be an overachiever and never feeling successful enough is something that I've definitely struggled with a lot throughout my life. Something I find really interesting is that like a lot of these things are not things that I'd ever really thought of before. Like I feel like that's something that we all kind of have in common of you don't really think about it as being abnormal or something that, you know, you shouldn't have been made to do until you see other people talking about it. And like, I hadn't really ever pieced it together or thought about the fact that like, yeah, I put so much emotional weight on my shoulders growing up. Like, I spent so much of my life dedicated to like protecting my sister, of trying to take the brunt of anything bad that was happening. I tried to keep the peace. I would be the one trying to solve problems all the time. I was the go-between. I was the person who was like trying to communicate and like talk to people and get answers, and like that was me. I'm lucky in the sense that I didn't have such massive obligations put on my shoulders about having to like drop everything for my sister, where a lot of people do have that. But I think there were instances where it was expected for me to do specific things and have more responsibility than was required of me, especially when it comes to being a parent to my parents.
Eldest daughter to eldest daughter, move away from your family. Move away from your family. And when I say move away, I don't mean the next town over. I don't mean you can drive there and come back in the same day. No, baby, we are jumping regions. We're jumping time zones. And don't get me wrong, I love my family. Like I know you do. We love our family so much. And that is why we give so much. Sometimes too much. And that is why you need to move away from them. What's gonna happen when you do? You will get years back on your life. Years. Nervous system repaired. Inner child healing. Anxiety greatly decreased. Now, I'm not saying it's going to leave you all together, but I am saying it will greatly You don't even realize how dysregulated your nervous system is right now because you've been living in this state for so long. Move away from them. And another thing, they'll be fine. They will absolutely be fine. You know why they're going to be fine? Because they won't have a choice. Start putting in those job applications. You needed a sign, I'm here to give it to you.
Listen to her. She is wise. She is wise. She knows what she's talking about. Listen. I moved quite literally as far away as I possibly could from home. You dig a hole through the center of the earth and you end up in New Zealand. It's a 26-hour flight minimum. Planes don't go that far. They have to stop to refuel, 13-hour time difference. That's how far away I am. And it was such the right move. It was such a good move. There are so many reasons as to why this is true, but oh my God, has it helped the relationship I have with my parents so much. I've never had an issue with my sister. My sister doesn't come into this, I love my sister, I'll do anything for my sister. She would also do anything for me. Yes, I have parentified myself a little bit over her, but I miss her and being close to her. Anyway, it has helped my relationship with them so much, especially my mom. I don't talk to my dad ever. I talked to my dad, on my birthday, he texted me happy birthday. On his birthday, I texted him happy birthday. That's pretty much it. But it has helped me appreciate my dad more in the way of being separated from him. I've learned more of an understanding of him as a person and why he is the way that he is and this distance and how it works. And I don't hold any resentment towards him anymore like I once did. And for my mom, we had such a tense relationship for a really long time. There was a lot that happened. There's a lot, and we just could not exist really in the same space. It was just not good for anyone. I had to leave, and getting as far away as I possibly could was such a good thing for that, because now I have learned how to be a person, how to set boundaries, that I need to take care of myself first, that people are okay without me, that I can say no. We can appreciate each other more, right? There is not a dependence or reliance anymore. And when she came to visit, she stayed with me for a month, and it was pretty much almost entirely fine. And we are at a point where we are friends, and it's really nice to have that relationship because we've been able to be different and away from each other and learn how to function without each other. And it's just, it's so good to have that space and that reflection. You have that time to reflect on your relationship and everything that you've done, and the expectations that were put on you, who you are, how your upbringing has impacted you, how you navigate through the world. It does give you opportunities to connect with your inner child and to heal. And it's just, I miss my family. Yes, I wish it was easier to see them. Absolutely. However, at the same time, I don't regret my decision at all. And I truly, truly believe moving away and getting that space is so good. And I do highly, highly encourage it. And as she said, they will be fine. They will be fine. If you are worried about your family, especially your adult family surviving, they've put too much on you, and that's exactly why you need to move away. One of the hardest parts about moving away, when I first moved away, because I was 19, nearly 20. My sister, as I said, she's 4 years younger than me. She just turned 16. I was really worried about leaving her behind. That was really difficult for me, and that was hard, and I hated that. When again, everything that I wanted to do that I had been doing, right? She was fine. It was all fine. Everyone was fine. And I think we're all kind of better off for it. And I think our relationships are all better. Space is so good. Please, if you can, move, get out, leave, have some time to reflect, because it will do you so good. This is eldest daughter in therapy.
Hello, eldest daughter. Welcome to therapy. How does it feel when you want to put your desires and your needs first? Put my desires first. I've always had to kind of take care of people around me. I don't even know what it means to have a need. Tell me more. If I was to put my need first, it would be considered me being selfish or me being ungrateful. And I would also feel this amount of guilt. So it's just easier if I just do what they expect of me. You were parentified as a child when you also needed that love and that nurturance. How are you doing though? I'm doing well, thank you. But I think we should circle back to what you had just said and feeling that guilt when you try to put your needs first. I guess you You have a point.
Did someone like sneak a camera into my therapy session? Because I think like word for word had this same conversation with multiple therapists multiple times. The part in the middle being like, but how are you though? Are you okay? Listen, let me tell you the amount of times my therapist has been talking and I've like turned around and been like, oh, that sounds difficult. Oh, that's so valid. And she just goes, that's not your job. And I'm like and talking about like shutting down emotional needs and shit. I cried in therapy the other day for like the first time. And my therapist was like, I've never seen you like this. She's been my therapist for 3 years, by the way. I've had this therapist for 3 years and I had a full-on breakdown in therapy a couple weeks ago. For the past year, in therapy, I've talked about how much I struggle with being vulnerable and about going to people for like support and like communicating and that sort of thing, because I really struggle with that and I prioritize other people's emotions over my own. I put my own needs on hold to deal with everyone else's because my needs come last. And even after 10 years in therapy, that is still something that I really struggle with. A couple weeks ago, life has changed a lot. Obviously, I have a new background. I've like moved houses. There's been like life has been the most stressful and intense it's ever been over the past month. And it really caught up to me in therapy. And I sat there and I literally spent the entire session just like crying and trying to stop myself from crying. And every session prior to that, every time I get close to crying, I manage to stop myself because I hate it. I like intellectualize everything. I like therapize myself through the session. But in this one, I just couldn't stop crying and like talking about how hard it was. And my therapist literally was sitting there and she was like, I've never seen you like this before. She had no idea what to do with me because I was like a completely different person because I'm never that emotional. But at the end she was like, I mean, you said you wanted to work on crying in therapy. So yeah, this is straight out of therapy, out of my thing. And like, yeah, in terms of like therapizing your therapist and putting your needs last, I even in therapy, I try not to do it so much anymore, but in the past have like lied to therapists because I didn't want them to feel bad about the fact I was doing poorly. I was like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. They've worked so hard to make me better. I don't want, like, if I'd relapse at any point, I like straight up just would not tell my therapist. Because I was like, I don't want to disappoint them. They've worked so hard on making me better. And me relapsing is just me throwing their hard work back in their face. It's just me telling them that they're shit at their job. It's like, I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want to upset them. I don't want them to feel like they failed. So I'll just keep my struggles to myself and not share them with my therapist because my emotional needs are less important than theirs. It's not the way to go about it, by the way. Don't do that. Don't lie to your therapist. I'm better at it though. My current therapist, I don't lie to her. She's the first therapist I've had that I don't lie to when I'm struggling, so progress.
The eldest daughters will definitely understand this. I grew up in a household where I was always told to keep the peace because keeping the peace was better than what would come from the other end of not keeping the peace. Really, when you get older, and I'm nearing 30, you start to think like, who am I keeping the peace for? It's certainly not for myself, because keeping the peace may be ensuring that somebody else is coddled and comfortable, but then you are internalizing the chaos that is going on within you by keeping said peace. It's not really keeping the peace. I think keeping the peace is the biggest bullshit line I've ever heard, and I will no longer keep the peace. Hope that you don't keep the peace either. Because uncomfortable honesty is way better than comfortable lies.
This also very, very true. This is something that I think, again, we don't really think about very much, right? It's like keeping the peace means that everyone else is okay and you feel like shit. You fix the situation for everyone. You don't express how you're feeling. You don't express your discomfort. You just do whatever's going to make everyone else happy, even if it makes you very unhappy, to keep the peace. But it's not peace because you are not at peace. It's not peace if you're not feeling that. If it's shit for you, that doesn't mean it's not good. Just because it's good for other people doesn't mean that's you're valid. especially if someone else is doing something that upsets you, right? Like, I feel like a lot of the time this keep the peace thing is said when someone has crossed your boundaries. Like, a parent will cross your boundaries and like tell you that they're allowed to do that because they are your parent and it is their right to do that. And when you tell them that that upset you, that you don't want them to cross your boundaries, that that's like something that you are uncomfortable with, that they've upset you, they effectively like make you feel bad and you have to apologize, and you do it to keep the peace. You don't want them to be upset. You don't want to cause a whole thing. So you will just accept your boundaries being crossed. You will accept that people mistreating you to keep the peace. That's not keeping the peace. That is letting other people get away with that behavior. That is hurting yourself. And it's also hurting other people because it is validating them in hurting people. You are just as important as everyone else. And I hate the idea that like so many of us feel like we aren't allowed to upset parents or authority figures, or really that leaks into the rest of our lives, into like anyone. It's like worth making yourself upset in order to keep other people happy. And that's just like not okay and not healthy, especially with people that love you, right? If they truly love and respect you, then they want you to speak up when they've hurt you. They would rather be upset temporarily to know to change their behavior to make you happy and to not upset you again. And then it's going to be uncomfortable for that moment when you have that conversation, and then it will only get better from there. And if someone doesn't appreciate you having that conversation, if someone doesn't appreciate you telling them that they've upset you, if someone doesn't appreciate you asking for an apology or expressing how you're feeling, then they don't respect you. And I honestly also think that that's part of the issue, is that people are afraid to stand up for themselves against parents, because if they then show that they don't want to change or apologize, then you have to come to terms with the fact that your parent doesn't respect you, and you don't really want to come to terms with that, right? It's a whole complicated, layered mess with so many different layers of how you act. But I think you just have to like accept some of these things, right? And I think that the only way to gain that respect from your parents in that way is to keep enforcing that boundary. And if they keep crossing it, then like maybe you're gonna lose them. Maybe they'll walk out of your life. Maybe you'll cut them off. And that can be a really difficult thing to do. But I think ultimately, like if it ends up in that place, then it's gonna be for the better for you anyway, because you don't need that energy in your life. You deserve people who respect you, and parents have to respect you as well.
If I can offer you any piece of life advice, it would be this. The moment you see things for what it is, do not unsee that shit. What is happening is what it is. And what it is what is happening. There is no benefit of the doubt. And there's no excuses. The moment you start seeing how people handle you and fuck with you, I promise, the moment you start seeing it for what it is, you will stop spending time in places where you're not respected, places where you're not loved, places where you're not protected.
This is kind of exactly what I just said. So thank you for reinforcing my point. Yeah, once you notice, like if you stand up for yourself, that is how you are going to figure out how people, like how much people respect you. There's a thing that comes along with having your boundaries crossed a lot, right? And that is, once your boundaries get crossed too many times, you kind of stop setting boundaries, you stop enforcing boundaries, because it's easier to let people just walk all over you without you telling them no than it is for you to say no and have them do it anyway, right? Like it's easier to handle. So at a point, you kind of just stop enforcing boundaries, you stop setting them. And I think that the only way to figure out how people truly feel about you, and if they like do actually respect you, is to start enforcing those boundaries again. And if they continue to disrespect them, you have to then acknowledge that this person doesn't respect me. And that goes for parents as well. And once you start reflecting on their actions and the way people are treating you, and you figure that out, you need to hold on to that and not forget that, right? That's something else that space does. Going back to before, being like, move as far away as possible, move away. Gives you that space. You get to reflect on the way you were treated now, the way you've been treated in the past, all of these things. When you're too close to the situation, it's really hard to properly evaluate it, especially because emotions are so high when you're like in the middle of it and oh my God, my battery is about to die. When you were like in that house, or you were in like that situation, you're like too close to it. The emotions are too high. You're feeling a lot of pressure in both ways. There's a lot of anger that you will not let yourself feel or express. And there's also a lot of that desire to like please and to gain that sort of validation. And everything they do both like upsets you and enrages you and also like feels correct. Like you really struggle to like separate yourself from the situation because you are like right in the middle of it and your emotions are high. When you remove yourself and you put space between yourself and the situation, it really allows you time to unravel it and dissect it. And you can find the points of interaction and expectation that were abnormal, the ones that were, you know, not okay, the times that you were taken advantage of. You are able to dissect the relationship and the different aspects of it, right? Like you were able to pull it apart and like find specifically different events that led to different events. You can find the pieces that were not okay, the things that left you feeling in specific ways. You can also appreciate things more. Like you can appreciate all the good things that happened and the good ways they treated you and things that you were given, as well as more clearly being able to see the negative things. And you're able to not see the relationship in black and white as much and realize it for the gray that it is. I think a lot of the time with situations when it comes to parents and parental trauma and stuff, and in general, like relationships in general, is that like a lot of people think that it is very black and white. I find this happens a lot when I talk about my parents, because when I talk about my parents in videos, it's usually one side or the other depending on the type of video that it is. And so I will get comments saying how people are so jealous of the parents that I had and how they wish they had my parents, versus other times when I speak about them and people being like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, that sounds terrible, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like people respond to in both of those ways to the way I was raised and the way that my parents behaved. And I think that people have to realize that like both of those things, they're the same people. They are coming from the same people. There are so many parts of my upbringing and so many things my parents gave me that I really, really appreciate and that I am really grateful for. And there are other aspects that very much the opposite. There are a lot of things that happened that have left me with a lot of trauma and shit to deal with and have impacted the way that I live my life, right? Both of those things are true. And having that space allows you to sort through that and separate it out and like not hold as much resentment, right? Like I've been able to like forgive my parents and I understand the actions that they have now that I've gotten out and I've had that space and I've had this time. Like I understand the way they acted and like where all the things they said and did come from. Doesn't mean that it's okay. I still don't think that it was a valid way to act or like, you know, was excusable at all. But I think having that understanding and knowing what it was and where it came from and what it caused and how it impacts me today has really allowed me to have a relationship with them in the way that I do and where I feel more in control. Because I was able to step away, recognize the behavior and recognize how I was being treated and where the good and the bad separated and where the lines are and how to enforce those boundaries and speak up for myself. And I think that is really important and you can't close your eyes to it. But I think when you're in it, it's really difficult to keep your eyes open, right? It's easier to avoid it because it's unavoidable. So in order to keep your eyes open to the way you're being treated and to the way people view you, you have to remove yourself from the situation and get like a clearer idea of it and then figure out what you want to do. Do you want to forgive people? Do you want to have conversation and enforce boundaries? Do you want to give like an ultimatum? Do you want to move away? Do you want to remove them from your life? Like you need space to be able to make those decisions and to figure out what you truly want and what you deserve. Acknowledge your treatment, move.
And let me tell you why I think that eldest daughter burnout hits different than regular burnout. Because if you're anything like me, then you probably cope with your own problems by helping other people with theirs. And when I say cope, I mean avoid, which means you are really good at bottling things up. When a crisis happens, people want you there. You probably describe yourself as working well under pressure. And since you've always had very high expectations for yourself, you also put a lot of pressure on yourself and you're also very critical of yourself. Which means if you're anything like me, what you do is you put more on your plate, more on your plate, more on your plate, and you're like, I've got it. And then maybe you even focus on other people's problems or focus on other people's lives to avoid doing some inner reflection of your own, which again is fine and it works really well until it doesn't. And then all of a sudden you're crashing out over the fact that some small minor inconvenience happened. All this to say is that the burnout hits different because it's not your current circumstances that are causing this burnout. It is a long list of circumstances that are contributing, things that haven't been addressed or things that haven't been addressed well enough. And there's an emotional layer to it. In therapist speak, we call it compassion fatigue, which literally means that you're just burnt out on empathizing. So you're not only burnt out mentally, physically, and emotionally, but you also feel this guilt for the fact that you're letting all these things drop for other people because those are the things you put on your plate in the first place.
Once again, feeling really called out. It's so much just revolves around responsibility and empathy, right? I feel like that is, we can all agree upon the fact that like core of this eldest daughter thing is just, there is so much responsibility and having high expectations of yourself and like a need for perfection. And unfortunately, that means taking on too much, making other people's problems your problem, and then also needing to be perfect in everything that you do in your own life for yourself as well. And you don't want to drop any of it, and it just gets so overwhelming so quickly. Like it all feels fine. It's all good. And then suddenly it's not anymore. And then suddenly it's not anymore. It's like fucking like building a tower out of blocks. And it gets to the top, you've added like one too many blocks, and now its center of gravity is wrong, and it's wobbling, and then it'll crash. And now you have to pick them up and try to restack them, but like you've been crushed a little bit because you were standing next to it and you got a bit crushed under it. So now you've got broken legs and you're trying to like rebuild this fucking tower. You don't know the order of the blocks. You're in pain. It's all just very, very overwhelming. And I think that, you know, you need to not build those towers so high. You need to take on only what you can actually manage and like have priorities. And it is so hard to prioritize things, especially the hardest thing ever is to prioritize yourself and what you want, and to set boundaries and to say no to people. So I feel like that's something we all need to practice, right? We all need to practice saying no to people. We all need to practice setting and enforcing boundaries. Even honestly, I feel like a good practice is like setting a boundary and saying it to yourself. Like you have to set boundaries with yourself. That's a way that's helped me a lot with boundaries, actually, is that like I work from home, obviously, and that is something that I thought was going to be really hard. And it is really hard. And I used to really, really struggle with it. And it was so bad for my mental health because I have to keep myself on task. But I then got a home office to separate work from self in order to help my mental health a bit. And I've like set really strong like work boundaries with myself. I'm only allowed in the office between this hour and this hour. I'm only allowed to work between this hour and this hour on these days. These are my tasks for each day. I can't do more than this. I can't take my work phone out of the room. I can't check my work phone like at nighttime. Like I have all these rules with myself in order to keep my life separate from my work, because it's really easy for this job to become so consuming, and also to like keep myself like accountable for what I'm doing. And I think just having those boundaries, setting them and enforcing them with myself has helped in general with setting boundaries in other places and with expressing those to other people. And so I think even if you're like setting boundaries with yourself as like practice, and then going out and like working on enforcing boundaries with others and like improving that with time, I think is a really helpful thing to be doing. This has been eldest daughter syndrome and Kiwi oversharing as per usual. What is new? We love to sit down and have me just giving you way too much information about my life. I hope that, you know, you were able to feel it all validated by this conversation. I hope that anything I've said has been able to, validate you or offer you any sort of insight or advice. I don't know. I just needed to have a rant. You know what the drill is by this point. You know what my channel is. You know what this was all like. So I hope you did enjoy. Let me know if you're an eldest daughter. I'm curious to know your experiences and how you've experienced this, because I think we all experience it, but like in different ways, obviously. A huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons: Polar Bee, Sienna, Alicia, Marielle, Bree, Bay the Trucker, Chastity, Beckett, Prismatic Petey, Sushi Kawaii, Phil the Duck, Jessie, River, Queen Glimmer, Ella, Mr. Noodle, Radsack, Knitting Menace, Chris, Ellie, Alexis, and Bobby. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. When you close your eyes.